Good morning to everybody. I'm gonna be doing another live. This time I'm gonna be answering someone's question. Someone who they tagged me in a comment the other day, and they asked me a few questions, and they said that they really wanted to hear my take on this particular question. It's actually 2 or 3 questions, but I plan on I told them I would dedicate my next live to it because it's a frequently asked question and I plan on covering it. And hopefully I can satisfy most people's answer that asked this question. But I'm going to let a few people join on here. I know it's early. Everyone's trying to start their day. Thank you for making me a part of yours. Whatever you're doing. Even if you have me turned on and you're listening to me in the other room, it's nice just to be heard. Good morning to everybody. So what is the purpose of life? That's something that's asked by so many people. It's something that's been, it's a natural question that we're born with, and it just occurs naturally for us to ask. And when we can't figure the answer out, we naturally go into this pursuit to find it, to discover what the purpose of life is. What is the purpose of life? Why are we here? Why is anything existing at all? And as I said, I'm going to answer this question the best I can, and some may not like the answer, but I hope it satisfies some. And this is my opinion. But the purpose to life, when you break it down, when you simply break it down, because we must remember, the laws of this universe have no definites. There's no definites. So anything we say, anything that we're describing through words is still not precisely it. We're simply trying to put name. That's why we've given this name of consciousness God. We've given this title word God, and it's us trying to simply understand something above ourselves. But what is the purpose of life? Why are we here? The purpose, what is the meaning of life? Okay? The purpose and the meaning is basically absolutely nothing. It's as simple as that. That is the answer. It's absolutely nothing. There's no purpose except you. You bring it purpose. You give it meaning. You give it purpose. We're all perceiving it differently. We can all read something, see something, and take it in differently. So through different perceptions, we are giving this universe purpose. We are understanding our own work. We're understanding our own workings come to life. So we're by means giving the universe purpose simply by being conscious, by taking in and asking the very question of what is the purpose. By you simply having the question is the purpose. You have the question because the purpose is for you to seek it. You are giving the universe purpose. You give it purpose by having the question. And you have the question because you know something in the back of your mind, something that you can't bring to the front, something that you can't put into words. And the answer is so simple, we overthink it. It could never be ourself. Everyone wants power and wants power and wants power, and man always wants to be God and power. But when you break it down and you really get to the bottom of it, who really wants to be God? Who really wants to play the role of the Alpha, the Big Papa, the One, the Omega, the one who controls everything? Who wants to be God? No one. Nobody really wants to be God when you break it down, because we want it to be something outside of us. Something we can look up to, something that we can put our faith into. But in fact, it is you. And what sits behind your eyes is what's asking the questions of what this is. When you study someone, a person, whether they be alive or dead, you're literally studying your own self. when you look up and admire a person, or look up to a person and admire them, and you're saying, oh, I like how this person walks, I like how this person talks, I like how they say this, I like how this person does that. You're admiring your own features. You're studying a human being, which is your own self, from another vantage point. But you're studying your own self, which is another being, and you're admiring what's in your own self. What's in you is what's outside of you. So what you're sitting there admiring is what's inside of you. You are the universe, the works coming to life. You're giving the universe meaning by asking the questions and answering them. You ask the questions because you are the answer. And as I've said in my other lives, you're playing the character of two roles. You can also break this down very simply. Why do people spend money on nice clothes, or to look good, or when we know we're about to go to a party, or a social event? We spend time in the mirror and we look perfect and everything has to be done right, perfect, clean shaven. Why are we doing this? Isn't it obvious though? Because we're about to be gone out into the social world where we're having eyes being seen on us. So we're doing this for everyone else to see us. We don't have to, but we want to look good and look nice for everyone else so we can be seen and feel good. But this is what I'm posing to you. Would you still do this very act? Would you care how your hair looked? Would you care what shoes you wore? Would you care how your teeth were? I mean, just the basics. Would you care about any of this if there was no one else in this world but you? Of course not. That's a sad and lonely existence, is it not? That's what we fear. It's scary to be the last person alive. That would be scary, right? Terrifying. And so what you should find is, this is your greatest fear of loneliness, and loneliness is the inevitable fact of human existence. So you subconsciously already know you are the only one in existence. You're only prolonging it. We're all the same masks of God through these characters. And when you look around into a city of a bunch of people walking around and going about their day, and you're sitting there studying them and saying, well, he's sitting like this and reading his paper, and I wonder what he's perceiving from the paper. I wonder what he's getting from that story. I wonder what he's creating from that story. Or you're studying people and you're looking down on them and studying them. You're actually the universe looking down upon itself. You're looking at its own self. And this is why I say you're giving it purpose. You're giving life meaning by asking the questions, by studying it, by examining every little detail, by you taking in every single little thing. Because some people say, oh, well, I'm so aware, I'm more aware than others, and I take in every little thing. It's true. Most of us are more aware than what we think. And we're taking in all of this because we're naturally posed the question as to what this is. Who are we? Why is this here? Why are we here? And there was a second part to his question. Once we already know, what is left for us to do? Once we already know, what is there left for us to do? Okay, so I'm going to tell you. So once you already know that you are God, what is there left for you to do? I'll tell you. By you simply posing that very question, is you still playing the game. So what's left for you to do is to enjoy. Be consciously aware of what's behind your eyes, but don't become dominant in that aspect where you're seeing life as just the supreme. Because then you're a robot behind in the body, in the flesh. You're a robot. But by you posing the questions and creating the problems, you're playing the very game of getting lost in your own self, in your own universe, in your own game. As I said, you ask the questions because you are the answers. The universe is you, and you are in this body. You're the micro coming alive inside the macro. And so when you look around, you feel lost and you feel that this is so big and so outside yourself, but it only seems that way because you're viewing it just as that, as something outside of you, something foreign to your own self. We're not realizing we've always been. We're infinite. We've always been. But what tricks us is the veil, the body. Non-existence, and for forever non-existence, is a human illusion, a construct that we create because it's a fear, a huge fear for us. We're terrified that we die and we go nowhere. And that is only the ego's fear. That's not our spiritual fear, because our spirit knows different. The ego is terrified of this because the flesh knows it's bound to deteriorate. It's bound to death. It's confined to death. So the ego is terrified of death. We view it as non-existence for forever. But as I've said, this is not the case because you were never this body before you were born. You were never this before you were born. You didn't look like this. And so here I pose the question. If you had no definite shape or form before this body, you had to come from somewhere. So the idea of non-existence or just being nowhere is an illusion, and this can prove that. You had to come from somewhere. You started off as energy and you were birthed into a physical body. We're playing this game with our own avatar, with our own self, and it's meant to simply just be a game of fun. We're simply meant to just live. To simply be alive and conscious is the grand scheme of things. We overcomplicate it. But as I said, we're turning the questions into terrors. We're allowing these questions to consume us and to bound us to fear. These questions should be fun. We should be eagerly and happily prancing to the next question and on to the next subject like a kid. Because you don't understand. Each question that you have is the universe coming to life. You are the universe asking the question. Who was I in my past life? What was history like during this time? Who was this person? You're asking these very questions because you're trying to understand the dynamics of yourself beyond this body before you were in this vessel, in the veil. And it's very obvious, as I've said before, the Godhead is never the head of his own knowledge. As they've said, that's a very famous saying. But as I've said, picture you being the only person on this earth. And to some that's terrifying, that's very terrifying, and of course it is, because there's not one other person around you to talk to. You're imagining that you're the only one. And if you were this only one, let's call it God, it's very obvious. You wouldn't sit around and you wouldn't just know that you're it. You wouldn't just sit around and know you're the only one in existence. Of course not. You'd create a billion different little avatars for you to play in, and these little avatars would not know that they are it. They would get lost in the game. They would ask the questions. They're feeling human emotions. They're playing the very game. That's the point of life. To ask the questions and to play the game as your avatar. It's meant to be fun. And as I said, we're meant to embrace the human emotion, the good and the bad, the sadness and the depression or anxiety or whatever. It's meant to be embraced because you are the universe coming to life in a vessel. Whether it be good or bad, you are feeling. And the feeling is you being conscious. Every single star you see up there bursting right now is you. Only you're consciously aware. Through a vessel, through a veil. And as I said, if you were the star up there, if that was you, and this wasn't you down here, or you were studying yourself from down there, you'd be asking the very same question, is what is that? The I don't knows is what keeps us playing the game. As long as we are posing questions to ourselves, we are playing the game and getting lost into the game of life. But as long as we run around feeling like we have something to do, we have to do something, we have to fulfill something, there must be a purpose. As long as you feel there must be a purpose and we have to fulfill something, you're going to run around like a chicken with his head cut off. In a great panic. In a great panic. You're going to give yourself an anxiety attack. And say, oh my God, I got to hurry up and obtain this great knowledge and hurry fast because I'm going to die soon, so I must hurry. It's not meant to be a rush. It's meant to be enjoyed. The questions are meant to be enjoyed, appreciated. See, those who aren't aware that they're playing two roles behind their eyes, those that aren't aware of this, to live in the ego is not fun. It's confining. It's prison. It feels like a matrix, a trap. You're enslaved in this body, and you're this poor me. Why the hell did I get here? I didn't ask to be born here, and this isn't fair, and life isn't fair, and this money, I don't have enough money, and this person doesn't care about me, and this person doesn't call me anymore, and all these things. And all of that is superficial. It may matter to the surface, but it doesn't, underneath it all. When all's said and done. It's always the case. The man behind the curtain that you're expecting to be someone else is you every time. It's always the case. In the Wizard of Oz, they were expecting this great Oz to be this magnificent person. Magnificent. And it was nothing other than a phony behind a curtain. But what that phony showed him is that what you're searching for is inside of you. And this is why churches are wrong, because churches keep you coming back. Those who seek spiritual enlightenment and come to a guru, come to a teacher, they don't keep you coming back. They show you that what you're seeking is within you. You don't seek outward for it, you seek inward. So you don't come to a church, you don't come to an infrastructure to get the Word of God. It's within you. And so long as you search outside yourself, or you let outside of yourself, or to an infrastructure, or to another person to give you this Word of God, you're magnificently tricking yourself. My favorite quote is you're finding this imaginary black cat in a pitch black dark room. You're pretending to yourself you found it. And the more sincere you're trying to pretend you found it, the more fake it gets. I don't mean to be harsh or rude, but it's true. You see people in church and they're just hands up and they're screaming and they're just so exhilarated and they swear to themselves. They're feeling it. They have it. They swear to themselves. And if you think something hard enough, you believe it. But in their very same Bible, when Moses spoke to God, because remember, God always hears you. Why does God always hear you? Because God is what's behind your eyes. God is what's within you. But when Moses spoke to God in their Bible, he comes into them and he says, well, what should I tell the people when I return and I say I've spoken to God? And he tells them, or he says, what should I tell them God's name is when I come back and tell them that I've spoken with God? He says, what should I tell them his name is? And he simply said, I am that I am. I am that I am. Nobody else can say those two words for you. I am. I can say you are, but that doesn't equal I am. Nobody can say I am for you except for you, because you are the I am. We all are. We're all Christ. This is what people don't understand. We're all Christ, trying to find the Father above. And the talking snake, which has been made to be evil, is the Kundalini. And like I said, this is considered the dark knowledge of God, because it's freeing you from your ego. It's freeing you from the lower state of consciousness that churches and modern day churches are trying to keep us stuck in. And as I said, when you're stuck in the ego and you're not aware that you have another character, another role behind your eyes, and you're just aware of you're being the ego, the body, this is a prison, confinement. You feel trapped. It's miserable. You sit by day after day and you're like, well, this isn't fair. Life is harder, and bills just keep coming in, and you never get caught up because the job doesn't pay enough, so you just keep getting by. The next thing you know, you're 80 years old and you've never asked one question. You've never figured out one thing about anything that's actually mattered. All that's ever mattered to you was the money and the superficial materials that you swore would make you happy. In the end, those people are left with nothing. Believe it or not, many suicides can be prevented just by simply knowing who you are. How many people do you know have committed suicide? Because I know plenty. But it's because we're dwelling in this idea of us as the ego, and life is just not important. God is not in existence, and because the divine is nowhere to be found. But as I've said, it's in you. And what we're under is psychological warfare. In this time, right now, psychological warfare. So we're being led outside of ourselves. Modern day churches and science are putting everything outside. Outside. That's why we live outside of a ball and not inside one. That's why the universe is infinite, open. There has to be, where you have space, you have to have a confinement to hold that space. You can't just have open space. That's like trying to hammer a nail into open space. It falls. You have to have confinement to keep that very space solid, to hold it together. You have to have an end somewhere to keep that space together. As I've said, that's like me trying to stick this into the air. It's going to fall. Hammer a nail into the air. It's going to fall. You need confinement, something to hold that. So the universe is not open, it's enclosed. It's enclosed. We're inside the earth, we're inside the universe, we're inside of our own self. It's all in our mind. But we've been flipped backwards, so everything is outside. We're outside of a ball from the macrocosmic perspective, and God is outside of ourself from the microcosmic perspective. So from macro to micro, we've been led outside. Everything is outside of ourselves, and we've been lost, gone. And just like that, this could be the Big Bang Theory that I said yesterday in my video. The Big Bang was the resetting of consciousness. The idea that we live outside of a ball. Everybody today believes we live outside of a ball. Everybody today is into Christianity. Christianity and all these other churches and Jewish and Islamic churches, they're the dominant religions, and they're leading people out. So you can say the majority of people are being led out. This is the resetting of consciousness right here. Everything's being forgotten, everything's being erased, everything's being burned, everything's being destroyed. And it's for the very simple fact that we're not worthy. These elite feel we are not worthy. Only the people of wealth and great importance deserve to know. So let's keep these people just dwelling in the ego, and they'll never open the third eye. They'll keep you stuck on government conspiracy theories and all these sideway avenues, but it's keeping you from the straight path that's leading you to yourself. And I'm not discouraging anyone from exposing government corruptness, because I mean it's apparent everywhere. But I'm just making you aware. These are all sideway avenues to make you turn off the main road, and the main road leads you into yourself. So you take a side street and a side road and a side road and a side road, and these are just delaying your own self. But it's also allowing you to get lost in your own self and play the game. So it's not all bad. You're literally playing the game with yourself, the game of prolonging your own awakening. You're putting off your own awakening deliberately, only subconsciously though. You're not consciously aware you're putting off your awakening, but that is exactly what you're doing. You got to put yourself through the mill, just like Alan Watts says. You have to put yourself through the mill, and once you've had enough mental strain, enough mental stress, enough pain, enough driving yourself mad, because that's what gurus do. If you think God is outside of yourself, a guru is going to convince you that you're right, it is outside of you, and he's going to lead you on a chase so far outside yourself that you're left exhausted. And you're saying, this is ridiculous. When do I find it? This is retarded. This is dumb. When do I find it? And he's looking at you and say, don't you get it? You've searched everywhere but one place. Don't you get it yet? We're overthinking the simplicity of it all. And as I said, so long as we're running around with the illusion or the idea that life must have a purpose or a final stage of awakening, or you're going to be very disappointed, my friend, because that's not the purpose. There is no purpose. You give it purpose. Each and every day is something new. You are the universe coming to life. There is no greater light. There is no greater miracle. You are everything coming to life. It's beautiful. What's your sense of urgency? What's your sense of panic? What's your sense of anxiety? If you knew what awaited you after this, you'd have no fears. Through DMT, I've seen the process of life and death, and it's as quick as a flash. And that's why I said, there is no difference between life or death, because we've never lived and we've never died. We've never been alive and we've never died. Life is but a dream. Maya means illusion. So what do you think the Mayans were? Where do you think the Mayans got the term Mayans from? They studied the earth. They studied the universe. The Mayans knew this was an illusion. It's a dream. It's a fantasy. That's what Alice in Wonderland represents. She's tumbling down the rabbit hole, falling through all these different realms because she's finding herself yet again and again and again and again. And she's asked, "Who are you?" She says, "Well, sir, I woke up this morning and I thought I knew, but by now I hardly know." You're finding yourself again and again and again and again. So there is no rush to your coffin. There is no rush. There should be no sense of urgency, no sense of anxiety. You're forever. You're the entire creation. You have until now, until forever. Enjoy it. Enjoy the questions. Enjoy the emotion that comes with it, the good and the bad. Enjoy it. It's how we choose to look at it. So many people are saying to me, I get this the most, and I want to say this too while we're at it. I get this the most, but so many people are trying to fight and beat this reincarnation stage, fight it. But you're not answering the very question. As I've said, by you trying to beat the stages of reincarnation, what do you think is waiting for you after this? Answer the question. You're thinking of this magical grand place of enlightenment somewhere for you after you've beaten reincarnation. But what would that look like to you? What? It would be colorless, formless energy. That's it. That's all you'd be experiencing, and it would be just yourself. You'd be consciously aware of your own existence, and there'd be nothing else around you but energy, nothing. So we must ask ourselves, we want to beat reincarnation, but how else do you experience energy? How else do you experience energy? Because we must remember, all the colors we see is nothing but electromagnetic radiation. It's frequencies vibrating. So how else do you experience energy but through a vessel? So you're trying to beat reincarnation and you're trying to escape this process, but this is the creation. There is no other way to experience energy but through veils, through creating. So whether we're in this reality or the next one, let's say when we die, we're in a different realm where, let's say we walk upside down, where everything's different, but it's still a realm. We're in a vessel, and let's say there, in that afterlife after this one, we're still trying to beat reincarnation, and then after that, we're still trying to beat reincarnation, and we're not realizing us creating these realms and asking questions is us getting lost in our own game. There is no other way you can experience energy. If you were the one supreme being, the one supreme self, ruler of all things, creator of all things, you would not sit around as energy knowing you are the only one, because think of yourself as being the only one on earth right now and it would terrify you. You would not want to be the only one on earth. So imagine you being the only one in the universe, God, the creator. You would not sit around and do nothing. You would create. So I hope this gives some people who want to beat the reincarnation process something to think about. We're trying to rush to this grand knowledge in our head that if we can just make it to this knowledge, we'll beat the game. We'll escape the game. And what you don't realize is you are the game. The idea that you even think you can escape is your ego. Only the ego seeks control, and when you take DMT, it's the killing of that ego. When you take DMT, you have to sit back and let the DMT control you. Because if your ego tries to control the DMT, you will be one of those men who are running down the street butt naked screaming, and you will end up in handcuffs. That's what happens when you try and control the DMT. The purpose of DMT is letting go of the ego. It's showing you have no control. Only the ego seeks control. So by you wanting to beat the reincarnation process, by you wanting to beat the universe, by you wanting to overthink the universe, you're fighting yourself. It's you. And as I said, I hope that gives people a lot to think about, who really are in this eager stage of reaching this 5D consciousness or this crown chakra, and they feel like, well, once I've reached this, what now? And this was the question that I put in the live topic. This is the question I'm trying to answer is, well, what now? What now when you know? Well, you're doing it. You can know that you're God and still get lost in the ego, still have fun as the avatar. As I said, for me, I know I'm God. I know, or not God, but this supreme being of energy behind the universe. I know it's inside of me, just as it's inside of you. It's inside of all of us, because all is one. Sorry, got sidetracked. But I know I am the supreme being, right? But I can still turn the corner and get lost in my ego, get lost in the game. So some people are saying, well, once we know we're God or this energy, once we know that it's inside of us and not outside of us, like all this was a metaphor, like the whole Bible was a metaphor, it was inside of us the whole time. What now? Well, you can still have fun and get lost in the ego. That's the point of the avatar. That's the reason you were created, as the avatar. You're listening to music you enjoy, or you're doing things you enjoy and like to do. That's the point. You're playing as the avatar. And as I said, this includes the good and the bad. So where you enjoy things, you're also going to dislike things. Things are going to piss you off. And this is you getting lost in the avatar, but this is why I said it's vital to know that you're simply getting lost in your character. It's not important, it's not real. This person just cut me off, and I may beep and be like, oh, damn it, or yell something or get mad, but then seconds later, inside my head, I'm laughing at myself and I'm saying, ha 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 ha, look at you getting lost in the game. Ha ha ha, look at you taking something serious that doesn't even matter. Look at you playing the game. Look at you forgetting who you really are. It's fun. It's fun this way because you're consciously aware. You're not bound to the ego anymore. You're not feeling like, poor me. God doesn't hear me when I pray. I've never spoken with God. All this talk of God and I've never seen any sign of Him. God doesn't care. We're simply getting lost in our own self, behind the veil. And so we make things that aren't important, important. We worry about things that aren't important. This is you playing the game. And that's basically the point of his question was, well, what now? Well, that's what you do. You get lost in your avatar, and just note, each and every day is a different day. And you are the universe coming to life. The game is never over so long as your eyes open. Your game is never over. That's also another thing to note. You can know you're the Godhead. You can know you're the Supreme. You can know that it's inside of you, but the game is never over. So long as you're conscious in this vessel, in this veil, the game is still going. And his last question was, is it worth telling other people that they are God, that they are the Supreme Being, or are we spoiling it for them? And I have an answer for that. I simply put out warnings on some of my videos where I talk about this, and I let people know if you're not ready for some things, then to exit out or not to listen. Because I do think it's spoiling it. Not everybody needs to know this. It's not vital that people need to know this. You'll find that some of the most happy people are the ones who aren't as consciously in tune. It sounds messed up, but the ones who aren't as conscious, the ones who aren't asking the questions, are the most joyous people. They're the ones who come into your work or come into any environment that you're at and just light it up and are loud and make everyone laugh. These people don't need it. Why would they need it? To me, that's wrong to do that to someone. So, in a way, it is spoiling it. If someone's not looking for it, they should not be given it. It's just like the taking of the red pill. You have to offer the person, do you want the truth, the red pill, or the blue pill? Do you want to keep pretending you're the ego, the body, the blue pill, or do you want the harsh truth that you are God, the red pill? And that's why he offers Neo the truth and says, once you take the red pill, there's no going back, because once you know, you do know, and you never forget. But as I said, that doesn't mean that you can't get lost in your character, you can't get lost in your avatar. You're still playing the game as the avatar. So you can be aware of your higher self and still have fun and play the game. Because like I said, as soon as you turn the corner and get mad at somebody or get frustrated, you sit there and laugh at yourself and say, ha, look at you getting so mad, so worked up over nothing. And this is your higher self talking to your lower self, but you're joining the two together and you're having a fun time with it. It sounds really sick and twisted, but it's almost like an imaginary friend. And it really sounds messed up. Some people would stick you in the loony bin just for saying that. But it's true. You have a supreme self that's aware, and that's subconsciously aware, and then you have a lower self. And this is the chakra system, the lowest crown, or the lowest chakra and the crown chakra. There's man, and then there's God. But if God could play man, man could play God, and vice versa, because the two are one. It's us given the illusion that the two are separate things. But how can you be a product of God, a created product of God, without being God itself? We say all the time we're infinite and all this stuff, but we're aware that when we die, we leave not a rag behind, not a nickel behind, nothing. Nothing whatsoever. We disintegrate. So how can this image be who you are? You're the product of God, which is infinite, without being God itself, or what you're calling God. I say this all the time, but you can think of a sun like this, like a circle, and obviously a lot more lines coming out, because this is only 12, but imagine a billion different lines coming out from this one point. This one point is the mainframe to this matrix. This is where thoughts are kept. This is where thoughts come from. This is where ideas come from. This is where memory is stored. This is where everything is kept, because all is one collective consciousness. However, we are the projected dreams from this point. So, like I said, picture a billion different lines coming from this point. These billions of lines are us, in veils, as perceptions, as separate perceptions. And this is the grand illusion of separateness. This is us getting lost in our own self. Because as I said, if you were this one point right here, that's like you being the only person to walk this earth. You'd be terrified. You'd want to talk to somebody eventually. You'd be screaming to yourself in madness, insanity, because you could not stand being alone for more than a week. You would lose your mind knowing the fact that you are the only one in existence. One. So what you do is you create a billion different masks, a billion different avatars to experience your one self, but to not know that they are that one self. So we're indulging and getting lost in the questions of what life is, what God is, what started God, what created the universe. These questions are you becoming aware of your own self. From the lower standpoint, the lower being, from the projected being. But as I said, this is the dream. We've never been alive, and we've never died. We're a projected dream from that one point, and all is that one point, which is the collective consciousness. And for those who speak about 5-dimension and reincarnation, if you know anybody who speaks about reincarnation, I greatly suggest that you share this video with them and just let them hear it, because to me this is one of the best explanations, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but on reincarnation, because as I said, we're under the impression we can beat it. You're sitting here trying to beat the universe, which is you trying to beat your own self. And we're in this rush to obtain this consciousness, this highest state of consciousness, because we feel like once we obtain this consciousness, we disappear into dust and we return back into our energetic self. But like I said, what does that mean? Some people have not thought this through all the way. Some people have not thought this through, because like I said, let's say you obtain this consciousness and you are free from your body and you are back to your one self of energy. But when you're back to your one self as energy, you're aware again that you're the only one in existence. You're aware again that you're the only one. Once you die, you return to your true self, which never was alive at all. You was a dream that you got lost in. And so it happens again and again and again and again and again. Each person forgetting that they're not knowing they are it. Because like I said, for you to obtain the highest level of consciousness is for you to basically die. You're returning to yourself and knowing that you are the only one in existence again. And so what do you do from this point again? You just wanted to beat reincarnation out here, but when you're back to yourself, because let's say you just killed yourself, you're finding out, oh my God, it's me again. Let me kill myself. Oh my God, it's me again. Oh my God, it's me again. It's a never-ending process. You're finding out it's you again and again and again and again and again. So what you're doing is creating creating, reincarnating. And this is the process that you want to beat. You're trying to beat the process of creation. So you're saying you want to live as this one dot in just wherever, just floating around wherever, the whole creation. You just want to be this one dot, knowing you're the only one in existence for eternity. Because that's insanity. So for the people who want to beat reincarnation, they really need to think this idea through. Because that's what it literally is. And I encourage everybody to share this topic, share this video. If you know anybody who's big into reincarnation and the mysteries of reincarnation, or anyone who's trying to beat reincarnation, or anyone who's stressing, I greatly recommend you share this video with them. And thank you for everyone who does share the videos. It's very hard to try and get these type of topics out. It's not the people that talk about knowledge that get the shares and the views that they need. It's the people who share the fights and the killings and the people stomping the heads that get billions and billions of followers. And I've told people it's hard to get a following like this these days. People always tell me, why don't you have a YouTube? Why don't you start a YouTube? Start a YouTube. I'm a nobody. I am a nobody. There's millions of other people doing exactly what I do, so I would just be another page on the YouTube. It wouldn't be anything special. So I've been waiting for my time. I've made a YouTube page, but I'm not taking it much serious. I'm slowly waiting till I can get a little more of a name for myself, at least. But it's so hard to get a following when you're speaking about knowledge and spirituality in this day and age, because all people want is the fights, the stabbings, the shootings, the police brutality, and the government stuff. That's all people want. So I'm sincere when I say thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for telling someone about the video, for telling someone about me, whatever. I'm definitely thankful. I'm going to end this video though. I've covered every topic, and I feel I've done a pretty good job. Like I said, some may not like the answers that I've given, but that's my opinion. And like I said, stop trying to beat yourself. Stop trying to fight yourself. Keep in mind that every single fear, every single anxiety or anxious thought, any panic that you have right now, any pain that you have right now, any fear that you have right now, whatever you're going through right now, just remember, when it's all said and done, it doesn't matter. It's not real. It's created through your brain. It's in your mind. And I'm aware that doesn't help you in your situation, but it helps you as far as mentally. You cannot beat yourself mentally over things that you have no control over. You must know when to let go. And that's why they say the hardest part is letting go, because the ego seeks control, and we wish to have control over every single little thing. So as soon as something goes bad, we wish to snap the finger and have it be miraculously cleared. Done. We have to know when to let go. You can feel depressed or sad or anxious or miserable, but when you're eating your own self inside, alive. And you're cutting off your own experience here. You have no control, you have no say-so, you didn't ask to be born here, so just keep that in mind. You have no control. If you couldn't control whether you were birthed here or not, sit back and enjoy the ride and just realize you have no control. You don't control it, you enjoy it. You enjoy it. You enjoy every single bit of it, every little bit. The good and the bad, the yin and the yang. You embrace the two, because without the two, there is no one. Without the two, there is no reality. That's the only way this all works. The playing of dual energies throughout everything. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for nobody telling me to kill myself. I didn't get too many mean comments today. That was nice. One love to everybody. Have a good day, you guys.